All right. Again, Rawbat Musar, who are here with us today on Father's Day, as well as those who are joining us via our online Musar. We appreciate y'all as well. Before we begin question and answer, I just want to be an excerpt from your protection. And the master teacher, Bobby Anola, teaches us like this. Point 94. Every being has the divinity functioning through them. So, the way you greet a person with your mouth, and the way you do a thing with your hands, and the way you use your mind is a manifestation of the divine through you. Do things to the best of your ability. Majesty of spirit resides within you at this very moment. You are noble. And on that, I want to use the divine ability within me at this moment. It's just to simply extend a Father's Day salutation to all the Nodadu. Ashur, Nodadu Zamut, Neye Anskum, which is Happy Father's Day to you all. And with that, we will begin our question and answer class with the reading of Parahan Shalel Musbat, the Pledge of Sabians. Nakuk Rahun Tayuan Leye Wu-Sabat. I pledge allegiance to Wu-Sabat. Shalel Pa Tahuda Musbat Shabat of the United Sabian Tribes. Waku Musard Kahet Masbat Wu Masta. One family under Sirius and Orion. Korea Sahu Rapuk. Sahu Hapum. Sahu Vahum. Which is with right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. Lahek Halal Sahu Dahu. Korea Damud Sahu Nakush. For all right overstanding with sound, solid, right reasoning. So it must move with all right overstanding. Sound, right reasoning with how we deal with each other, masculine and feminine. We must improve the way we relate to one another. And it's not about, oh, you were right, you were wrong. It's about let us all get right. If for no one else, for the children, for the Karadu, so that the next generation will be a better version of us. So last week, we ended class, and then I saw somebody put others' questions in. Me and get to that, so I'm gonna answer it. So that's short. Oh yeah. All right. So, this was one of my brothers. I saw the nails. So he says, "Roll back." We saw. I have 9 questions. That's what I said. I was like, yeah, all right, and you come a little earlier the other 9 too, so we can hit you live. But this is good. We appreciate the fact that our movie stars engaged with us to the point where they're like, oh, I got questions. Then he realized he was seeing it after, that it wasn't live. So we'll do our best today to answer the questions. And looks like they're coming out of who is God, female or male. Now we get that right. All right. So question 1. Why do we not theorize or deal with theology, except for what that's coming out of who is God, male or female? So let me walk. We're gonna walk through the scroll to address the question. So I'm going to take. Your back is so was right. Like that immersion talk, please. Wicked day. In that was my. So anyway, get to the question. Why does not theorize or deal with theology? That's a brief, except for what? So before I step right into that question, let's go a little bit in the beginning that touches on who we are in terms of ontologists. And in ontology, it explains why we do a thing, why we do not do a thing. So let's begin on verse 5. the master teacher, Bobby Ayun, teaches us of us. So Bob, in ontology, or the science of being, we, Uwakians, live by facts and die by truth based on confirmations. 6, the ontologist, which would be us, is the incarnation of truth, who deals with what is real in and or outside of what is nature. 7, we are ontological. That is, we, Ruwakians, don't just accept what is put forth by theologists or theology, theological, theologically, theologian, and or to their whole theocracy or godlike government of rule. Theocrat religion in all forms, be it worship of ghosts, wood, rock, images, or myth, fables, fictions, or legends. So, based on what I just read, that answers your question on verse 8. We are not into theory or theories, superstitions, or theoretical theorists. 9, we do not theorize or deal with the metaphysics. 10, we avoid, except for study. This is why we still will tap into theological study, because we study, right? So 10, we avoid, except for study, right? Yeah, it deals stop. The various ancient and modern systems of esoteric philosophy by which our soul or our spirit may attain knowledge of an ultimate union with the universal forces of spirit without conservation. Examples would be yogiism, Sikhism, metaphysics, metapsychosis, and spookism. So the answer to that first question is we don't theorize with that because we're ontologically. We deal with the facts and stuff that we can actually confront her, right? So the second question, okay, how do you know or how can you confirm you are real? I'm going to keep to the same scroll. So you can confirm or know that you're real by these simple processes right here. One class the master teacher gave was called Who Knows the Secrets? And he was dealing with how you know you're real or how you know you're up or how you know you're in a dream state. He said simply pinch yourself. You've never pinched yourself in a dream. So let's go into how we know we're real based on this scroll. Okay, verse 11. And being your first reality is to become aware that you are where you are. You exist. It's only you, and all others and things are illusions or deceptive appearances. Beliefs, which is like religion, make one an illusionist, a dreamer. So that goes back to how do you know you're dreaming or being awake? You pinch yourself, because you've never pinched yourself in the dream and got a reaction. Let's see, verse 12. Yet, your personal illusion can become real by a simple illustration. Touch yourself, talk with yourself, look at yourself, taste something, and know what it is. 13, if to no one other than you know you are real, you are really wherever you are and who you are. 14, I'll stop at that. You're real. That's a fact. That's the truth. So through those simple steps of processing consciousness of being aware that you are who you are, even if only to you, you are real. And that's the first step to reality. Go, sell more. Oh, all right. How can the reality of you or realization of self be shared? How do you share your reality with others? It is Father's Day, but I had to begin this answer with the seminar because she is the point of reference. She is the record holder of our whole lineage, right? So I'm going to begin with her and see. Find that. Okay. Remember you just read how you real. So verse 20, Master Teacher says, nothing else is real to you but you, because you can only confirm your own existence. All else could be just illusions. 21, your being, your body, you. That's a fact. You exist. Now I just touch on the feminine principle of that, how do you share your reality or yourself with someone else? 22, you then become pregnant with a karad, child. Fellas, you ain't doing that. That's a feminine. And in your pregnancy, you become a host to a guest and shared your reality, another being. 23, that guest being a chromosome of a female X or male Y, yet it's inside of you and becomes a part of you. 24, it is real to be alone and still is your reality. Now, as I was stating, we can address the feminine part, but the male has to address his reality and can be shared the same way a feminine can. We know one he can't by prejudice. So, 25, the male XY can only look on and feel. He does not share the reality of another center being formed, shaped, created, grown in you, the center. So we're not able to do that. However, we do share in another aspect, which is in verse 26, the all in all. All right? So we do share that, but how? How does the masculine share that? Only in his participation of the Torah. Or in that aspect, but the female literally shares her reality with a guest inside of her. Where in the Quran does it state men were created from women? All right, so before I sort it here and I'll go over it, but let's keep the train of thought again on the sacred feminine, all right? And then we'll get to that actually, the Quran. Where did I find it?
Zip pine. Up. Make sure you were.
Nah, good. All right, so we gonna sit still so long. You already know. Yet, 35. Yet, you, often females, and only you can confirm the existence of another being, the babe or harad, child, called his offspring, because it sprang off or out of its creator, maker, fashioner. Maker or fashioner, creator. Which is why women are the true gods or goddesses. 36. She is the muntak or matrix, matriarch, maternal or maternity. 37. Even in the Quran, you see a play on words. So something is happening within the Quran. It is mistranslations that will lead the English reader not to know that Allah or whoever wrote that by the angel that map, if you will, Jibreel, is talking about a female. But how do we know? For the English readers, how would you know? You would have to study the etymology of the language, and we're going to do that, touch on that just a little bit here. So, as I stated in 37, even in the Quran, you see a play on words. 38, when Muslims translate from it many times, they hide what it really says. 39, they don't understand Arabic like they pretended, and most converts don't know real Arabic. 40, they live by translations only. 41, now look at Isposi. The Quran, chapter 4, originally revealed the chapter number 2. It's called An-Nisa. They will tell me that means the woman. 42, when in fact the root of An-Nisa is from the root word nasi, meaning forget. 43, yeah, most translators play games with true meanings of the same root for anas. 44, they say people, mankind, and for arrogant sin, again, they mistranslate it as the human beings. Then that's wrong. 45, they all come from the same root word, nasi, meaning forget, forgetful, forgetfulness, and forgot. 46, why do they knowingly mistranslate words? Look it up. Now, this is incumbent upon us to look it up, right? Because I can say it, read it from the book, but I'm going to look it up to find out your question, right? So, who's up as far as when Quran does it state that men were created for women. We're going to get to that. But you had to maybe look it up as well. 47. Now, let's look at this fourth chapter, verse 1. Posting gender. We're looking for gender that. This is the correct translation below of Quran chapter 4, verse 1. Then in the part that's got to work or word, it's a word. All right. O you who are the keeper, who tranquilly says your master, who created you all from a single female person and created her from her twin. And from these two was sent forth many men and women. And they tremble in fear of the God, and you all seek your equal rights by way of him and the wombs from which you all were born. Surely Allah, the God of the Arab, over you all is near than that other versions. But we're going to stick to the question, where in it does it state? That would be Quran. That's yeah. And then I have to fall. But we can turn that off. We won't be interrupted. All right. Now, verse 48. So you see how they mistranslate this verse and change gender of her to him or it. 49. They change wife or female, mate, twin, which is zawjaha. That is female, not zawj or mate, not zawjahu for male. And you also see mistranslation of the word nisay, forgetful for women, and even the number wahadikan, the ending tan is feminine, not masculine. 50. So you have masculine and feminine numbers in Arabic. Wahad, words equal masculine, and wahadat is feminine. 51. So this verse uses feminine, right? This verse uses feminine throughout, for first being and from her twins or mate. You will see the word al-arham, the wombs, not the penises or the phallus. So right there, within the actual language that is revealed there, it's talking about the women was first. That's where that. So again, you can check Quran, chapter 4, verse 1, and get you an Arabic lexicon and go word for word the same way the master teacher had brought that card. Okay, this is the easy one. We're gonna rock this one, right? This is a good one. Mathematically speaking, the X chromosome is how much of a difference in genetic material than the Y chromosome. In this scroll, on page 8, there's a diagram of fractions of the Y and the X chromosome, right? So, again, verse 54, again, because it's you who grew man, fuck to female, because it's you who grew man, and knowing that the Y chromosome is a defective X chromosome is your proof that you were first, right? Now, 55, or the male is missing 1/4 of the 8 parts. And we're talking about the parts on the double X. Each one of the points of the X count. So that a double X, that means up to 8, we're missing one. 56. Now, being ontology deals with math and not myth, Wu speak in math. 57. The female chromosome is 5 times bigger than the Y chromosome, which has, and in this book it says 0.8% less genetic maturity. That's a typo. It's really 2.8. How? Because you said it's 5 times bigger, then the missing genetic material will have to be more than a 1. It had to be a whole number. This is a fraction that says 0.8. However, I'm going to show you where the 2.8 is actually listed. 58. The male is missing 1 stem. And let me stop right there. We to check a fish probe, would check the locus of life. Right. Okay. So the lotus of life, the sacred feminine, on verse 343. As for the X, and Y chromosome, which is what we're talking about in this book, the X and the Y chromosome. Scientists now know the male or Y chromosome in the sperm or the semen has 2.8% less genetic material than the X chromosome in the same sperm specimen. So even in the male specimen, when we had both chromosomes present, they noticed that the X is 5 times bigger than the Y because it's missing 2.8% of our genetic material. So guys, you can check that. But also, this is not new. The master teacher talked about this in the Holy Tablets. He also spoke about it in the Sacred Records, Aturi Ray. In that, he also says that there's 2.8% less material or genetic material of the Y chromosome. Why is the female a perfect being? We got a lot of scrolls is going to go into that, but I'm going to keep it in the white scroll. So if someone's reading it, just read Actually Fact 36. I mean, excuse me, not 36. Actually Fact 19, Sacred Feminine. So now, as I stated, when you're looking at the X polygons, you see perfection. You see balance because you got all four points twice, which is him. So breast 59 and females, divinity is only compromised by physical contact with males when they are exchanging fluids. Why? Because she is in perfect state or balance. That would answer that question, but go further to verse 6. By that is meant she uses her whole body, and each part of her body, unlike males who have parts of his body he doesn't use, like his chest or mammary glands, while she does use hers. Thus, she is complete. All right? And one more verse we could check. 62. It's clear that the female body is complete, and is why she is the one who can hold the new being's body and give birth to a complete or incomplete baby. Female complete, 720 degrees or 360 degrees and 360 degrees. Right. The incomplete will be the male, which is 630 degrees or 360 degrees and 270. 270 means that's the Y chromosome that's missing the stem. I hope that helped. Next question. I think I answered that, or if we'll read it. What could compromise the woman's divinity? Right here in verse 59. Female's divinity is only compromised by physical contact with males when they are exchanging fluids, because she is in a perfect state or balance until that contact with the male does that for her. Okay, all right. How does the woman willingly surrender her divinity? I have to go a little further. But again, keep taking eye in mind. Let's go out to a lot of diagrams. If they don't have this book, please seek it out. This one is Action Fact, series number 19. Who is God, female or male? A lot of diagrams in that one. All right, I'm going to skip around a little bit because Baba, he moves when he teaches. He touches on different subjects. So I'm going to skip around, go all the way up to verse, let's go to verse 71. So the master teacher, Bobby Alou, says in 71, man came out of her flesh and blood. And once he submits to her, he becomes God. Or she is the mother of God, as they teach about Mary and Jesus. 72. You repeat that last time, please? Yes. 71. Man came out of her flesh and blood, and once he submits to her, he becomes God. Or she is the mother of God, as they teach about Mary and Jesus. 72. The female knows she exists and bring all others into existence. 73. She is the sight of all. She's the sight of the true darkness is in her hand. 74. When you try to overpower the woman or your woman, consort, wife, mate, or force her into submission, the God in her dies. Once she loves a man more than her own self, okay? When she loved the man more than her own self, the God in her died. 75. Once she is enslaved by her man, the God in her dies, and her man loses interest. He moves on. 76. When she desires sex or physical pleasure, the God in her dies. 77. Once she exchanges body fluids of another female, the stronger gene rules and other guys. 78. She and only she can kill herself by surrendering to a lifestyle or religion that subjects her to second-class citizenship, where she can't express who and what she feels or wants without guilt or shame. 79. And as a result, 79, she is dead, no longer the God of all life, Mother Nature, see, her, or she. So that's how she willingly surrenders her divinity, is in her attraction to man or woman, and exchanges of fluids with this man or woman, and the dominant one will dominate. The last question: how does a man kill the divinity? How does the man kill the divinity in a woman? Well, we just read, so I'll just read a few. All right. With man, this is man. Bible talking to the man now, verse 7. When you try to overpower a woman or your woman, consort, wife, mate, and force her into submission, the God in her dies. Once she loves the man more than her own self, the God in her dies. 75. Once she is enslaved by her man, the God in her dies, and her hand loses interest, moved on. 76. When she desires, expects, or seeks pleasure, the God in her dies. So, as you read this, there's certain things that has to happen with her participation. But when we talk about overpowering, she's not participating in that. The only way she would accept that is if she feels the love of you. When she loves you more than she loves herself, then she submits to that, and it literally kills the deity in her. So the man, as men, we should avoid that type of tactic to keep a woman, to give with a woman, to reap a woman at all costs. Because, as I read earlier, right, if we kill that, then how then does the man become God? How? Read Everett, when he submits to her, he becomes the God. Because he is the mother, she's the mother of gods, by way of her ability to procreate. So it's very important that men will stand the role. And if you're a man seeking the affection and a lifetime with a feminine, you have to be a man and stand on your masculinity and not have to force or bend her. Or when you would do that, that has to come by way of fear. You can fear her intellect, you can fear her energy, you fear something within her, and the only way you could meet that, what you see or feel from her, is with force. And then once she does submit, you lose interest. So you still lose. So as masculine, that be secure in our masculinity, to be husbands, fathers, sons, and brothers, to all the feminine we're coming in contact with our whole life. All right, those are the 9 questions that were asked last week. I pray I answered those. You have any questions on mine yet?
Okay, this question from Tom's on great. Yes. So Robert in the South. Robert. Wars are spreading back. World War III isn't just a theory anymore. With nuclear weapons ready to go and major world powers willing to destroy everything rather than boost control, need to ask this question. All right, how do we protect ourselves if this gets really bad?
All right, he got one more. Oh, you know the answer to that one first? Oh, no, I want to see that one too.
All right, for instance, are there other planets we could go to if Earth becomes impossible to live on? This isn't about staring people, but they can't ignore what's happening, right?
Okay. All right. So part 1 is that what we do to protect ourselves, correct? I like the way you asked the questions, Jamal, because you were inclusive of others than yourself. You said we. That's how we are going to survive. We have to become a we and stop being an I. In other words, we have to learn how to come together, right? When we say that word slowly, you're saying together. We have to come together and learn how to live of, for, and by each other, which is not new. The master teacher's been telling us that for some time now, right? So the reality is you have to get around people who vibrate on or close to your own vibration. When we come together, everything happens when we come together for a sustained amount of time. And develop what's called harmony in our chants, in our business efforts to create a self-sustaining environment so that when all else is cut off, we can rely on one another to survive. That's a must. Maskins been telling us that for years. You can go back to the Millennium Book. You go back to the year 2000, what's respect. The master could talk about World War III back in, right? So we have to come up out of this kingdom, this I-ness that so many of us have become comfortable with. So I'd like now you ask the question when you said, what can we do? That's the answer. We have to become a we and not an I for everything. You know what I mean? We have to start living closer to each other. If you can't live in a communal environment, you can get a house that enough y'all can live there and you'll share all the bills. If you split a $3,000 a month mortgage between 6 people, that's only $500. Each one of y'all will have enough money to contribute as a cooperative, meaning we all cooperated in paying the bills to actually get food, to learn how to grow food, all of these things, because it'd be different people with different skill sets who have one goal in mind, is to live up on by each other, to survive what's befalling the planet right now. The second question was, are there other planets? Yes, but I say, but only to say, when you talk about other planets that we can go to, my answer would be yes. However, we can't even go to anything that requires an Uber, many of us, anything that requires a car. If the master teacher comes home tomorrow, would you be best there, Paul? If the master teacher would get it now, that's right, Sammy Room. The master teacher was here now. And he said, let's be out. I ain't paid up for y'all, because y'all should have been taking care of everything, but let's be out. How many of us really have our passports? How many of us have the ability to go to another place and not be a useless eater? Not go to another country and they would be dependent on the country resources. We would be a burden if we did that. But how many of us are coming together, right? And come together and really come up with a plan, a strategy to at least get all out of this country, right? Talking about the other planets, they will not, and I mean the elders, I mean Murazaku, I mean Panatara, they are not taking us to a planet that's free of many of the attributes that we had. In other words, those ways that we had that prevent us from coming together. They're not bringing you to a new world to bring that nonsense. Can't. It doesn't work like that. So we have to really learn how to develop ourselves to have true harmony amongst one another. And then unison, meaning we'll move as one. But until that happens, those who are thinking, such as yourself and others in our culture and even outside our culture, who are thinking about we must become one collective, a collective unit of being who have the betterment of all the beings in that collective to do the right thing. So yeah, there's planets, but we don't own spaceships. We can't just jump in a rocket and leave, unfortunately, right? But if we came together, start vibrating high enough to become worthy to be picked up, then yes, they're going to come get their karadu, which would be us and those who think along those lines. So right now, we just have to be cautious, be very aware of what's going on in the world today, but also we need to improve our efforts to come together, to be one. And that's the answer that I would have for you. I pray that helps. You have any other questions?
Yeah, Don Murray. So is your counterpart on Clarion aware that you exist? And does Viskians have counterparts?
Okay. So in the universe, duality is the rule. So yes. Now, if you're asking if your counterpart is aware of you, that you exist on that world, or the Clarion, wherever master teacher there, if they are adhering to the teaching and awareness, they know that you exist too, right? And a lot of times, as the master teacher taught us an update, you can dream and go to your counterpart world. So if you can go there, why couldn't the counterpart come here? Right? So yes, when you read man prophetic risk, it goes into the nature and the embodiment of risk is Razak, the things that they just said. Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. The choice is that be a formula from divine design for us physical beings to procreate in that manner until we got intercepted in our DNA and our genetics that caused the shift from having twins, one singular birth, etc. We'll pray that answer the question. So let's talk about the counterpart a little bit, just to get a little more information on that. So when we talk about the counterparts, the Master Teacher says, which means anything that happens to you, the counterparts of you feel also. So another bill is if you're right-handed, they're left-handed, and vice versa. And it also says, for instance, the Bible says, for instance, you may feel a sharp pain for no apparent reason, like your hand may feel like it has been cut. And that's because your clone of the counterpart's hand may have been cut. You can have an emotional breakdown out of the clear blue sky because one of your counterparts did. It's talking about bones that we have in ourselves as well. We touched on the counterparts. So when we're talking about your direct counterpart, that's on Clarion. Let me find that for you. That one. All right, so we had a older update as well. Our etheric counterparts, let our words be known. Question, what happens to you when you have a dream and you don't want to wake up? Bible said, you have found grace and have met your counterpart, who is not a different or separate being from you, but you, a part of you in another dimension. So what about when you're trying to communicate with someone on the other side? In order to communicate during that time, you must be asleep or in a meditative state, almost like being in almost like being in a sleep state. You have to drop down to a certain level. An example, again, is about tone and frequency. An example would be going down 3 notes or octave of A. A is the natural tone of the body. Nature tone, the C, and the earth is F. The gate itself opens about 2:30 a.m. It closes around 3:30 a.m. So we say 3 a.m. and we call it a shift, as what we call time shift as well. You cannot connect them. Your counterpart would make the connection and bring them to you. So, for example, if you're trying to reach a loved one, it would occur during this time. That's why we hear things about the witches' hour, witches and warlocks, start their rituals around 12 a.m. to midnight. You can also share dreams with your counterparts, yet when they wake up, that is the end of their dream. That is why that's why you are unable to remember that dream, or you forget really quick, because it was actually your counterpart's dream. You're actually experiencing through your dreams or meditative state portions of your counterpart's life. And once you wake, you sever that connection because their day ended. So, does that mean you're done with speaking inside your head beside your ancestors? That is a very good question. No, your counterpart is you and speaks at the same time you do. They are opposite everything you are. If your counterpart is right-handed, you will be left-handed, and vice versa. While you are speaking, they will be speaking. Yet, it will sound backwards here, and you will sound backwards there. You may say, why don't you remember seeing or meeting the counterpart? That's because he or she remembers seeing you, and it was in their dream. Another example, when you share a dream, or you get to a certain place, or an alley, or you remember seeing in Popeyes or KFC being in a certain place, and it's not there. Then later, in another dream, it is there. That's because your counterpart told you it was there. Once you pass on to the next realm, you will merge with your counterpart and become one. It is like the pyramid symbol, as above, so below. So that's just a little look into what happens when you and your counterpart connect. It's generally in a dream state or meditative state. Non-meditation time it can reach you there, but it happens more frequently in the dream state, either your dream or their dream. And if we learn how to become conscious of this state of consciousness, then we can actually remember those dreams a little longer, which is why that's teacher gave us another you. When you dream or sleep, you should have a pad and a pen by the bed. Wake up and write those down as quickly as you can. And you'll start to see the differences in the dreams that you articulated there. A great help as well.
Question
Two.
nothing haptui.
All right, how's that?
About we saw question. If Clarion is a counterpart to here or there, are there other races big or just in dark but
Okay. No, Flareon has different species or races on that planet as well. Flareon is not just the counterpart, it's considered a parallel world. So in other words, Earth is a certain distance from the center of the solar system. On the other side of the sun, Clarion is the exact same difference from the sun. So everything on there is here. Everything just the opposite. So there will be other opposite in terms of left to right hand, but there will be other races or species of beings on that planet as well. Because there is life outside of this planet. We've just been made aware of the parallel world to us, which would be Clarion. All right, no questions at the moment. All right. the barbers in velocity. So that everybody moves fast in the flow you are. You definitely moves this or mass. This day 3. So you already made it here. Be close. Still keep going. Keep going. Mm.
Oh, Bean, what you doing? You messing with something?
All right, so I'll read something with this some spark questions. This entitled The Four Paths of the Human Beings in Wu-Sabat. 1. Nasat or Munsat, one who exists as a human being, humanization. It expresses the natural state of every mortal before they enter Wu-Sabat's journey. Wu-Sabat has been specially sent down for the selected as a guidance of mortals in a spell-like condition to break that spell of ignorance. 2. Najay or Mujay, one who saves, human being. It expresses the nature of submission or one who is saved or set out to save others. Only those in Wu-Sabat's way who received what has been specially sent down are of that select, who is guided and seeks to guide other mortals, those of whom the spell is lifted, no longer in ignorance. 3. Nasar or Munsar, one who helps, pure being. It expresses the nature of a person who is devoted to help Counterparts save the human beings, who are ready to submit and accept Wu-Sabat's journey, to stay close to Counterparts and help remove the spell of ignorance. Number 4 is Najab or Munjab, one who is excellent, an excellent being, one who does all that is required in the journey of Wu-Sabat. They live by all rules and keep Hasara, studies all the rule and keep Hasara. All action facts. All action facts. They live for, of, and by Wu-Sabat. These are those who are true, devoted, Sabians, who all seek. The master teacher goes on. There are 2 kinds of reports being kept on each human. 1, Pa Sahafat Shalel Tamalat, the pace of actions, deeds, and works. 2, Pa Sahat Shalel Paksada, the pages of attentions. All of you have these 2 reports being kept about you. What you do, what you think, and these I keep and report on each, and they are separate records. As in Bush'ad-Uz, one who is a witness. If you have questions asked, you'll be judged more by your intentions then the action, let this my words be known. So here you have the 4 different paths that a human being can take, right? So the beginning one is before he even encounters Wu-Sabat. We are human beings, or just being human. We're not addressing that inner divinity inside of you that allows you to transcend that state of just being human. You have the second one, where that now the spell on you has been broken. You're no longer ignorant, but you also want to have so it's other teacher. All right? You want to help save other people. Your third one is now your nature is unfolded. That true nature that is aligning you with Panatara, Murazaku, and the higher realms. This is where you overstand giving up of the oneness, that I-ness, to become that selfishness. You become more selfless, not in submission to one who is saved and is set out to save others. You're one who is devoted to help Panabat Yanun. That means the fear of all the negative dialogue that may surround you because of how you dress, what your attire is, who your master teacher is, who you possess their knowledge if you stayed on the path to reach point number 3. You have no fear of spreading the good news, a good word of this divine doctrine. It does not bother you. You're able to defend the master teacher's character and his name by way of the doctrine, also by the legal case to pass. So that means you're one who studies. You have the facts, and you present them to those who want to hear. If they don't want to hear it, then they should not expect you to hear the negative tones that they want to spread. Wilbur. And the fourth one is considered the one who is excellent. That means you do all that's required in the journey of Wu-Sabat. You do all the precepts. You do all the things so that when it's time for you to go to the hall of judgment, you have no fear. You have no fear of giving up the body because life goes on, but now you're conscious of the existence of that life. So you're all one of those who just does what they do, and you have no trepidations about it because you know you're on the right path, the essence. All right, so we all have to ask ourselves, each one of those score, are we comfortable in being? Some people might want to stop at 1 because it's the easiest to do. That's just being human. Except for when it's time to go into the higher realms. Then you may very well regret that all you knew was the life of the human, as opposed to the existence of the deity within you. So let us all be on God.
There's another question, Lauren.
Oh, okay, two.
From Don Murray.
Yes,
He says, why is the soul and spirit in conflict?
Ooh, I like that. Why is souls? All right, you go to go. We're going to go. I'll find that for you, same one of your books too. Give me 1 moment, Jamal.
He's not. That's called it.
All right, so you have within us really 4 states of divinity. Well, we're going to address the soul and the spirit, and then we'll read what that is. So the soul is the life and the emotional body. The soul is the reservoir of all. The spirit is the all. The spirit is the all. I need y'all to hear that. I'm going to say that again. The soul is the reservoir of all. See, the spirit would you be the all in all, right? The body is the all is I am. So now the soul is unconditioned. The spirit is conditioned and the body is conditioned. Now, once the soul separates from the body, it's like a placenta separating from the body. The soul either goes to Orion or Sirius, like when the tomb I saw was discovered. There was no body, yet a submerged stone coffin. So it goes on how the journey of the soul. But we're going to talk about the question that you asked, why they're in conflict. What is the difference between the spirit and the soul that has them at a conflict? So let me find that for you real quick. It's in two places, but I'm gonna give you the first part, which is in 30 spirits. Find that spirit. All right, Zamora, Kahab, Patarak. 30 spirits. You want to go to verse 57. And we'll hear what the master teacher's explaining, keys. All right, so verse 57. The master teacher body I know is talking about the soul, knows no kind of fear, and their spirit fears for the feelings of the flesh. 58. So, Ruapi, An, Panavad, Yanu say, live by the soul, and not by the God, spirit, and the Katat body. 59. Ruwap is medicine, a cure for your Rukwan being. 60. I come like a doctor with medicine, security. 61. Welcome me in your dreams and visions. 62. Because no evil or wicked spirit can take my form. 63. As no mortal can pretend to be me or teach what I have returned to teach you. 64. It's time to renew your story and restore the full power of your 9 etheric being, 9 mind, the full power of your Ba'a soul, and link to your ancestors on the thought. 65. So live by your Ba'a soul, and you will not gratify the desires of the sinful, wicked spirits linked to your flesh by nature. 66. Because wickedness and sinful ways are whispered into your mind and are in your nature after 6,000 years of mixing with the Kurski or Canaanite, the Celtic, and their many sub-races. 67. The wicked and sinful nature desires what is contrary to the Ba'a soul, and the Ba'a soul of Nakita is contrary to the spirits and Sikita, which is death. So in that particular spot is why the contrary, because the spirit is conditioned. That condition is tied directly to your personality and how do you take things personally. The personal license dispatch. You see, I can find a full bill in this one. All right, if you go to Action Fact number 73, which is entitled Hake Hu, or His Scope. All right, so in this particular scope, verse 219, the master teacher Bobby I know says, "In true you, your Ba'a soul can never perish, spoil, or fade if you are remembered for your good done while you lived in the flesh. Being remembered is eternal living in the minds and hearts of those you did well by. They keep you alive, and as to your own disciple relative and offspring who live on in your fifth gene. So do not fear death. It is not the end, only a new extended existence." The master teacher goes on. I'll go to verse 222. The spirit has natural instinct passed on for the mother and father's DNA, which themselves, all 24,000 genomes, do not interact in this world. For a newborn to know these things is spiritually. And if they ask you, how do you know the Ba'a soul is real and exists? You say, as that child grows around or waits for either parent, no matter how small its heart, even if the growing child never meets one or the other parent, the one with the Kara child will see the other, and not just how the Kara looks, but also how it acts, its likes and dislikes, its habits, good and bad, its emotional attitude. That is soul. 223. So yes, Ka'ah spirit and the Ba'ah soul are real, exist, and is passed on as etheric beings overall. So the difference again is because the soul has no conditions on it, has no fear of existence, where the spirit has an attraction to what it likes and what it doesn't like. And because of that, you act that way. And the parent, either one whoever you're with, can see that and can see that. So spirit is contrary to the soul insofar as what it is attracted to and what it is compelled to do. So we're at those conditions that is set. I pray that answers the question for you. Hold on, just in case. Okay, let's go to verse 203. The master teacher about that is that Musbatu say to this. You must know the Ba'ah soul from the Ka'ah spirit, as the spirit is the person related to the desires of the body. 204. So I say, live by the Ba'ah soul, and you will not gratify the desires of the Ka'ah spirit. For the spirit lives by desires, that which is contrary to the Ba'ah soul. 205. And the Ba'ah soul, that which is contrary to the spirit, they are in conflict with each other, so that you do not do that which is, so that you do not do what that which is leads to your physical want. Yet, if you are led by the spirit person, you will not be living by Wu-Sabat or its mental resurrection power, Nuku. All right, so they that as well. Living by soul, contrary, because the soul is not compelled for the attraction for desires, right? So we know desires will keep you trained here, where you can't go on to the higher ones. I can pray that and just the question for you, Mark.
Have a question back?
Two or more down, right back at the father's exit.
Part of the like about why were the doctors chose to transport it, or did we live inside the doctors? Okay.
All right. Good question. I'm looking for who's the survey that touches on it. What the real word is that. So I'll find that word. Oh. All right, so when you talk about the dolphin being used, when we go back to the sacred records of Atu Ray, the Black Book, is that it was part of the dolphin project to bring light to this planet, right? So, excuse me, when you say why were the dolphins used? Because the ancients knew by way of divine design that this earth is actually a water plant. So to see light would have to begin in the waters. So they used them, right? But let's look into what the dolphins were actually called, and then we can get into why and find out. Okay. So if you had action fact number 33, who's the serpent of Genesis chapter 3? Well, I was talking about our light in animal water and these beings that were here. All right. Next. All right. So, verse 49. Many places around the world speak about beings that come from the water and teach to those who they come in contact. 50. Many cultures around the world have stories of Murugantaku mermaids and always speak of some humanoid form and is also mentioned in the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 5 verse 2 by the word Dagon. So 51. They are also called Murugantaku sirens, and there's an oral history, a written history, and cave drawings as well. 52. In Japan, they have a white humanoid sea creature they call a ninjin, which translates as human, discovered by Japanese research vessel. 53. These ninjin are said to be hard to observe as they live in the freezing waters of Antarctica. Very important to note that. And are nocturnal. Yet other sighters have seen them in Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Now we're moving on to us and the dolphins. 54. Murugantaku mermaids are said to travel with whales in Qarashu, Qarashu, dolphins, in what they call pods, a herd of sea mammals, which would make them hard to spot as well. 55. In fact, the single cells of the original Musnanu Sands people were brought to the oceans of this planet in the bodies of dolphins. 56. The word dolphin is from Middle English, delphin, and Indo-French, delphin, alternation of Old French, dolphin, from medieval Latin, dolphinus, alteration of Latin, delphinus, and Greek delphin, delphis, akin to Greek delphish, meaning womb. So, the dolphins was used as carriers as a womb to bring the single cell of the sands people into the oceans, right? Now, here's how it was done. Verse 57. So, the cells were actually transferred via an egg-shaped bag, which is our language for cracked, from the Masbaku, Sirius C, by way of Massa, Orion, 4 billion years ago, sank down by way of Ptah to this planet in Patahan, the deep ocean of this planet, and inside the womb of the Karashi dolphins. So that's how that whole thing took place. So they didn't just zap the dolphins and bring them here. It was a crack that traveled from Sirius C here, and they put them in the ocean. When these dolphins were placed in the oceans, they secreted the single cell. All of the elements in the ocean contributed to the growth of this single cell. And also meant to become mermaids, mermen, and also in our ancient Tamarian history or story, not Zascoin, the ancient mystery, these single cell entities or cells already had the developmental formula inside of what they were going to be. So as time elapsed, they grew into what they were going to be. So our ancient Egyptian ancestors, they were called the Ogdoads, right? It's the water beings. And each one of them, even fear you live for eras of time. That wasn't the end of it though. So after they were the water beings, like I said, the single cell had all the components of what we were going to become. in the waters and onto land. So now you had to authorize, and there eras of time, they procreated, had different beings. There's certain calamities occurred, and some of them were blown on the land, they couldn't go back. That was not a mistake. That's all part of what's called divine design.
You said, they came on the land, but they had to go back.
Some went back, not all went back. Because again, we're talking about the divine design. It was destined for us to be land dwellers as well. So those who did go back into the waters, guess what? They now went through another change, another development itself to become land dwellers. They had to learn how to hide from predators that were on the land. Learn how to get to the high places, trees and stuff like that, to avoid these dangerous predators that were on the ground. So this same divine design happens today with the women. When she is in her laboratory or the child's in the laboratory and the mother's about to work of growing from that single cell that made contact with her egg and fertilized, now it's becoming something. So instead of the millions of years that it took the ovulus to do it, and the feminine, it takes 3 stages or 9 months. Where she's developing as these 3 different beings, she's literally growing a tricultural being inside of her. The first one will be the water being, it's like a tadpole. The second one will be the grape or the lamati, big head, black eyes, small nose, little lips, and small ears. The next stage, now what happens in I call her womb, her hum, is a laboratory. It's in there, the work is happening. In what? Triple darkness. We can't see these changes going on. But while these changes are happening, at the 2nd trimester, going into the 3rd trimester, she is actually preparing this new being that she shares a reality with. She's preparing it to come onto land. He or she, I said it because in the dark, so we're doing no agenda. So by the 3rd trimester, all the things that this child will need to actually be outside of the security of its mother is being grown inside of it, which is being grown inside of her. That's divine design. So what took place eons ago, millions of years ago, like you start the dolphin product said 4 billion years ago. So between that time and us becoming land dwellers as sand people, right, the first world people, and the different races of the formula in our genetics was unfolded like a flower. Now you have to be on land. So when the mother does her work in triple darkness, and now the baby or her offspring, which springs off from the side of her, and now we become land dwellers. Then all the things that we needed, like lungs, had to change from gills in the amniotic fluid. That's from the tadpole fish being to the remardia who could see in the dark, so our eyes are big. And then you had the human or the gourmand, who could be us. So that was the process. But it began way back when, prior to the 4 billion years ago. That's the date that is given for the dolphin project. So they knew back then what we were going to be today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. You said it so at the 2nd stage,
Correct.
they were like grays.
Right.
So is it fair to say that the grays that so-called we see today, big head, big eyes, they skipped the stage, the 3rd stage?
And then he skip it, then they were able to only go that far. Again, part of divine design, right? Because when you study the grades of the Lamar, it's like 76 MSP is a lot of it. However, the ones that come here will do quote-unquote abductions or inspections of people.
Yeah.
They are weightless.
They're who?
Weightless. They don't weigh anything. They come, they move around. That's why they appear to be small, but some of them are aggressive. But the point is they are weightless, so they don't disturb the ecology of the planet when they come to do the induction. They have the job too. The ones that come looking for us, right? Those would be the ones that will be on the crash when we first go, if we're found worthy. So there's a developmental stage in us that will make us worthy to even see them on the craft. And they are now working with the Natharu because they have a gift to get if they do their job. And that's the gift of emotion, right? Not all beings had emotion. Remember, what's the emotional part of us out of the 3 that we talk about? Masturbation part.
The mostly part?
Yeah.
And those?
Yeah. We have a part of us that express emotions. That's the emotional part. The soul. Everyone is soul. The soul is the emotional you, right? So they don't have that. They don't have that. but the promise of the gift to them has been made. If they just do their jobs. So when you go to a grade or Ramadi and try to go in the craft and you ask questions, who doing the questions? Zone grades or the craft? They doing the question. So answer the question funnily or not be right. They have no problem with saying no, you can't go. If it didn't be too big to fit your seat, no, you can't go. It'd be too small, fit the seat, no, you can't go. Be real goopy and say to them, oh, I made to my seat bet. But I want to ride my wife. They're like, yeah, go ahead, get off. When you get off, they close the door. No motion. That's the goal that they're working toward. So that different species, different forms of life that have different attributes or bodies or parts of the divine self. We, as the Karadu of Panatar, Wu Murazapi, we have been given the gift of soul. Right? And then some of us become so careless because, as I read the 4 paths, so many of us are stuck on path number 1, which is a human being. All we know how to do is inund it. So we don't even cultivate the soul. We don't shake the rust off of it. The soul is the eternal witness of everything that we do. So some of us don't even address that. Or we willingly or unwillingly, but I say willingly because we have the mindset of something other than self, give our souls away. We get that. So now, how smart are we if other forms of life and species know we want the soul and we don't? And yet you think we're intelligent. We can be intelligent. We all get out intelligent. So overstaying things that happen outside this realm and how it actually relates to us directly. Right? So I pray that is good.
Definitely did.
All right, good. With that, I'm class to class. I'm also Mark Catford. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Family love, we need that a little louder. Family love.
Now that's
Oh, straight.
As I could have done the idea. But
Father's Day, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, child.
Father's Day.
That's right. Brother love.
Any questions on the sacred?
yeah.
See, we starting trouble. Let me scroll down here. All right, let's see. Oh. Down there, you got it. You got it. Is that the one he's asking? Is there a sacred masculine book? Question mark. It's Father's Day. Thought I would ask. Men always complain that this is a lesser holiday. Low.
Yeah, it's coming on sale. Hello. It's coming on
So much LOL. There. I'm not in that group, so when they pronounce it that way, so I'll never did. That's why my sons be laughing. When I say that, they be like, is that loud? Low? They just say laugh out loud. Thank you both. See, he's not, you can't even have that, bro. For Father's Day, I can. All right. So yeah, he's asking, is the Sacred Master book you said it was coming?
Yeah, it's coming soon.
All right.
I can't break news.
Yo, I'll get it. I will get it.
Now, there's a verse in Psalms 44 right now. That's got it.
That's it, you mad? That's right.
First, certain information is probably gonna come out, but the master haven't put a book out on it yet. And it's because the male is sacred as well as the woman. I know we got adoption. We talk a lot about the feminine, but it's an aspect of it also for the sacred masculine that's never really spoken about. Like today, even talk about a lot of things. You had to address the females, and we have to get back into acknowledging as well the importance of the male, right? Because he is important at the same time. And in many aspects, even if you think about the germination of the plant, when we say that the seed of life is transported from a dolphin, right? Whose genes was that? Come on, Zayden. It's a myth, a tool. You know what I'm saying? The seed of a tool was put inside the dog. The germinated life on this plant. Amen. When we start talking about the greatness of women, that's true. But understand that we're talking about it. Physical manifestation. You know what I'm saying, man? When we're talking about physical manifestation, that means that we existed before gender as etheric beings. But the physical manifestation first was the feminine, right? On this side. But if you're going back on the other side, right? Now you're talking about men on the other side. That's why Baba had classes where he used to say the heavenly male and the earthly women. Not that the woman's not from there, and not that the man's not from here, but there's a domain where he rules, which is in the heavens, and there's a domain where she rules, which is on the earth. You understand? So any questions?
Let me share.
Update.
On that same note, so when we as males boss are not reject, what was the reason for it, and can we get? Well, of course we can get it back. Was it a process, and what was the reason with us?
You lost an uncle there? Wu-Sabat.
Okay, nobody on the earth like Mount Mazat. Let's be strict. Let's be clear. Nobody, no one. Because if the women had it, then she could take a man and make him a god, right? Right? So they don't have it. No, none of us have. That's the information that the master teacher gave us about ourselves in our original ancient form. Because he's talking about us in our original supreme state as physical beings. We had that running through our blood. You know what I'm saying? Today, we're all mixed out. So he will tell you that you have to go through rituals. You have to earn these type of things. So none of us have it today. So when we lost it, we lost the Matthew Zeb. The second, we lost the divinity of who we were. When we no longer was the Netzler, we no longer was the Natharu anymore. Because do understand that even though we talk about Osiris and them, or Lithis and Ashtek, right? They were Netzias, right?
Sure.
Well, we are too. And if you go to books like the Black Book, the master teacher would say, wake up, you sleeping Netzias / gods. So we are the Netzers here on planet Earth. Right? So we lost it when we stopped being the Tedros and became servants and subject to the beast man. You understand?
Yes.
My question was from earlier. There was mention about, I don't remember exactly how it was quoted, but it was mentioned about the soul and the spirit. I think Mukdal, said the soul is the reservoir of,
The reservoir all.
and then the spirit is the all. So I remember before in a previous class, we had mentioned that the soul and the spirit have an expiration date. So does that mean all have an expiration?
No.
So, first, I like, we'll look at that. That would be in history. Right there, the top one. That you understand? Oh, no. This is out of 5 them.
Okay. Okay, so yes, in the previous doctrine, my teacher had taught us that the spirit and the soul had an expiration. He should tell us that the spirit, that's the one that relates to your personality. That's why we called it nafas, or in Arabic or Hebrew, nafas means what? The soul. So it's a physical thing. And that's what animates the body. And the soul is that emotional body, right? That you're talking about coming from the other side. When we talk about the other side, the spiritual realm, or in outer terms, the etheric realm. From the ethers, you manifest as a soul being. Then from a soul, right? The soul degrades itself and makes a shell that we call the spirit. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, the bacteria of earth attracts to the spirit, and that becomes the body. So in reality, the soul is connected to the ethers, which will be all. So that will be the entrance to all. You become a soul body. Once you're in your solar state, now you enter in the threshold to go back to the ethers and blend it in one with all. Or I should say with all. Right. Because you all the all.
That's right. That's right.
The all is finite, and all will be infinite.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask about I was gonna ask about in Ethereum, they are a soul, or is it Ethereum then soul, then spirit, then flesh?
Ethereum is higher than soul.
Okay, so what's the rest?
So the difference is Ethereum is an energy body, right? Or energy being, or what we would call an ether being, but that's much older than the soul. That's our original state. When in our original state, in our original atmosphere, we also have the etheric aspect of us right now in this one body. Was in because the body is made up of different vibrational levels of the same thing or the same substance. That substance is the substance of all. So from all, you get etheric beings. Like I said earlier, etheric beings degrade down to souls, to spirits, to physical beings.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So those parts of you, that's a four-part you, right? They're for body, spirit, soul, and then ether. So that etheric you, that's the real you. And that part of you does not deal with gender or sex. That part of you is before gender and sex. When we talk about gender and sex and we start saying, oh, woman is first, we're talking about genes now. To prove that a woman is first, we got to talk about genetics, right? So we're talking about a physical thing at that point. But prior to that, we existed without that concept of sex. And I say sex is more sex than gender. Because when you go into Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, he teaches you that gender and sex is not the same thing. But on earth, most people think they are the same thing. So like what you call gender is really more so spiritual, right? And then sex is the manifestation of gender, physical manifestation of gender. Because you have gender amongst electricity. That's why they have in electricity, you have the female and the male in electricity, right? Right or wrong?
That's right.
That's the gender within electricity.
Are you saying how you charge the naked charge?
Exactly that, right? And so forth and so forth. But when you become physical, the physical aspect of that will manifest as a male or a female. You understand?
It's nothing online yet. So I got any questions in the room. I'll be bidding more.
So, okay, go. But
I did ask the question about is back to the topic, boy. I remember about the sanctions that we gain soul gain male. So can you find how does that happen? Let's process it.
that's another good point. The fact that you get your soul from the Father. So what that means is this: every woman, we know that the woman is the divine being, but even her get her soul from the man. And who's that man? Her father. You know what I'm saying? So the women get their soul from their father. So what happened is, we used to teach, it is still relative today, that the light of the soul is where? On the semen of the man. You know what I'm saying? So when a man and a woman come together and it's, they have intercourse, the semen that goes in her body, there's an energy on that that's symbolic and literally the soul. You know what I'm saying? And that goes inside the woman's body, and then she grows that being, you know what I'm saying, into a fleshly being with the help of earth. Because remember, you have a personal creator, you have your impersonal creator.
Right.
Your personal creator are your parents. Those are the persons that came together to make it. But your impersonal creator is the nectar in the form of nature. That's why you get the word nectar. And trilateral root is what? NTR. You add the A and the E, right? What is it? Or the U, right? You get what? Nature. So nectar is just another word of saying nature. So nature plays a role in adding the bacteria to the flesh. How? When women are with the child, some of them often have sinus problems, right? So what's happening is skin cells are recycled on earth. And since it's recycled, the women, while they're with child, they're breathing in the particles. And those particles is bacteria that they're taking in, and that's becoming the child's flesh. And let me read this. This is from the prison, right? So it says the father's, this is verse 77 in the prison. It says the father's XY supplies the soul, ref, rawak, in the man, glove, through his sperm, manam. The mother XX supplies the spirit person, nafaks, and bone, azda. They supply the flesh, the sat, and kak, spirit, and ba, soul, and akak, ether, is grown, salafa, ancestors, linked to netta, or the overseas. All this is in the 9 noons, or the 3 periods of the gestation period, by the rules of nature, and it's inherent or inherent to mitochondrial DNA and nuclear DNA, the records of genetic family from the very beginning. So you see, it's in the doctrine that explains that the cell comes from the pop.
I think in Natural Ether Energy, it talks about that divine spark that's on Red's sperm as well, and how that soul enters into the whole world at that moment. Well,
Nothing wrong. Oh yeah.
Any other questions?
Nothing wrong at the moment.
Yeah, about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, you were discussing, you were building on the book of Revelation, and you explained to some degree about Raggy, a beast, and the bear, and how the concept of it, or that is not being portrayed properly through religion, and that if we went and researched in our old world translation of Revelation, you had to, and we could get a insight to it. But now in this time period that we're in, when we see China and we see Russia and all of them doing the things that they do, is the natural hatred that the Jews and the Arabs have, it's going to affect the entire planet. Or how is the direction of us and the people going to be those who have Wu-Sabat, like how we need to look at all of this trouble and all of this fighting and and murder and chaos. That's the devil's children.
So to answer your question, no, it's not supposed to be the destruction about. It's not going to affect the entire plane, and that's why the master teacher has always been stressing for us to be, right? He said, realistically, us as Sabians, we shouldn't even be here. We should be in the east, looking at Babylon fall, because we're still here in the belly of the beast. The belly of the beast is the United States of America, right? So here, this place is going to fall, and the other places are going to trigger World War III. That's in their theory, you know what I'm saying? And if America want to be a part of it, like they always like to be a part of everything, right? They're going to be a part of it then, right? And the worst fear that America has, right? The reason why America always go to other people's lands, think about it. When was the last time there was a world war in the United States? Never. Because America always make sure they go to your land and destroy your chunk, right? So America is what they'll be devastated if we had a war on our soil. You know what I'm saying? So we know at the end, things like that type of catastrophe can take place. And we are not supposed to be here when that happens. We're supposed to be looking from overseas, like, look at that land. That's why the book of Revelation talks about looking over from overseas of the land that's fallen. You know what I'm saying? Babylon has fallen. Well, we wasn't supposed to be in Babylon. Hey, yeah, Babylon fallen. We go on town with. Right. So, yeah, when the master teacher wrote the Injil, that was called the Injil, which is the book of Revelation, when he translated it, because most religious pastors, they don't know the language. And the book of Revelation was originally in Aramaic or Aramaic, right? Then they translate it into Greek. So most Christians only say, or when you get the book or you get the Bible today, even if you get a strong concordance, all the translations of the Injil of Revelations is from the Greek. The master translated from the Greek and out of it, so you can see for yourself. You know what I'm saying? What it really was saying. That's why certain things that people say, they'll probably say in the Bible may say, they gave power. The dragon gave power to the beast. Now, most people when they hear the dragon, they go, "Oh, that's China," but that's not what he said in Revelation. Draconian, like gave power to the beast. The beast is America. Like, why America's a beast? Because it's a melting pot of many different people. You understand? And he showed you an image. I believe it's Leviticus 6:6. He showed you that image. That's a symbol. That's a visual reflection of the Revelation quote. You know what I'm saying? And he put the white person's face on it, who he says later on. We got an update saying that was Trump, right? Yep. And of course, he showed you little names that they played right in front of your face. Like you had President Trump when he was the president before. His vice president was called what? His last name? Pence. And what happens in Revelation? When the trumpets are blown, that's when things hit place, right? And that happened then. Then he told us when he lost, first he told us Trump was going to last for how much? 8 years. And Trump only lasts for 1 term. But now Trump is back again to do another 4 years. And he's and as he been here, he been causing a lot of changes in America. And most Americans don't even know what he's doing daily. He's utilizing the what you call it. It's things that a president could do. They can change laws about executive order. Exactly, that's what it's called. He's doing a lot of using the executive order to change a lot of things where most people don't even realize what's happened. And he's doing it almost every day. Since he's been in office, he's signing new bills in place. They're setting things up for his people. And these clown, some of our people who lost, they still want to support this guy. You know what I'm saying? So, that is what it is. Yes.
May I share something? This has to do with someone that asked earlier about the riots that's going on. Somebody asked the question earlier. This was shared with me a few minutes ago from the last visit Baba about a week ago. They were talking about the riots that are happening, and he said that, did y'all ever consider this? What's the one thing y'all didn't think about? It's their body parts. He said, "Move." He said they're rounding up all those illegals not to get them out of the country, but to see who has the best parts. He said the elite Bukasu are dying and their bodies are deteriorating and they need parts. He said they're not getting deported, they're being detained for parts. And the real reason for the riots, because the family members of the detainees haven't been able to gain access to see their relatives who are complaining that's when she treat her. They wouldn't need that. Yeah, well. Then do the sit with Miss Amur.
That falls more too. That's it. It's just that. Because that all ties into what? The food for the gods. Been for right back. But then of recent, I don't know if you noticed today, there was an article out where he's trying to put a hold on messing with the so-called labels, right?
Yeah.
Because it's affecting production that America needs, like the farms, right? Because people that's working there is the so-called the labels. What I'm saying? End of the day, we know that this land also belongs to our Mexican brothers and sisters as well. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't stand on the sideline and act like America wasn't stolen,
Right.
by Caucasians, right? Who came over here, but to get away from religious persecution in their own lands. And when they came here, it was so strict on that. They said, "Hey, you're gonna separate state from religion."
Yeah. Stay.
Because where they came from, their own people was killing them because of religion. You know what I'm saying? Then they came here and said, "Hey, we're going to take the lands from the natives that live here." And then all of a sudden, after years of doing this, the natives, right? That means the blacks who was here and their children, the American Indians who was here, right? They eventually fall under the rulership of the colonizer. And now you have people siding with the government of the United States as if these people are illegal. No, the president is illegal. Saying anyone that looks like him is an illegal. They've been an illegal since they came there. But because they rule by a group force and they did it for generations, they got people thinking that he's like the president. In reality, he's a colonizer, point blank. And the other 40-something presidents is colonizers as well, including Obama. What's the thing?
Roll back to our family online. As I got questions, please ask them. We know it's our famous holiday, but you got questions, we'll be here as long as the questions are here.
Fine. Sometimes.
In questions, in Christi, let me see apa boleh say. It was
What did you got? You know.
It's been forever, years. It's just, have you heard anything where this Obama freeze?
personal on him. Nope. You heard anything, Scott?
No. Was this the last one, Paul? Here we go. From Dawn Mary says, when it comes to being whose vibrations are lower than 9 through 7 ether, how did the lower ones, 6 through 1 or less, come into existence?
Yeah, and saying that everything tells them the highest frequency down for the low keys. So if the highest being non-ether, through degradation, you get other ethers. So of course in our school we tell you that non-ether is really connected to the negals, right? You have what? 8 ether connected to Mongoloid, Dravidians, like Dravidians, and you got the 7 ether, Mongoloids, And then you got the 6 ether, Caucasian women.
Yeah,
You
right.
got the 5 ether, the Caucasian men. And then as it goes lower, goes its Muikis and different spirit. So it's just a D grade. So anybody that exists or all humans that exist, they all have their own etheric force that makes them up in nature. And the one that makes us up is the highest, more that makes up other people because they're less dimensional beings, because your ethers is synonymous to the dimensions that you're from the what. Non-ether beings is really from the 9th dimension, the highest. So forth, or so forth, as it goes lower. Oftentimes, we only talk about the 9 and 6 because those are the extreme opposite of each other. And because those are the extreme opposite of each other, one always is trying to subsist on the other. Particularly 6 ether is always trying to subsist on 9 ether. That means always trying to use 9 or the children of 9 in order to survive. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how 6 ether functions. 6 ether need chaos to exist. That's why in our culture, the master always stresses, don't slander, don't backbite, don't do this. All these negative things, these negative things that humans do today is because of those specters that live on a planet in their energy form. And people listen to them. No different from when I say listen to them. I remember one time a brother asked Bobby, he asked them if, basically if non-ether beings exist, why don't they talk to us? And he said they do. They just don't listen. We don't listen to them. You know what I'm saying? If something happens right now about family members, instead of killing that noise, we will have meetings on negativity. Instead of killing it.
Right.
And the fact that you don't kill the slander and the gossip means that you, in the vessel of 9 ether, love 6 ether, and you want to hear. Whether you say it out your mouth or not, it doesn't matter what we say out our mouth. Right. It's our action. Your action will determine who you really are. So if people are comfortable around you, let me say it like that. People ain't uncomfortable around you, then you ain't doing your job. Because I'm telling you something. If you really start standing for your frequency as non-ether beings, you ain't gonna have that much friends.
Right.
Even in the culture. No, I'm not playing. Stop playing with me. Because you're gonna become that friend. You ever hear people make jokes about that religious person who just got Christianity and everything they talk about is Christianity? But did Jesus save you today? Like, book up like this. Right. Well, you're going to become that. Because anytime someone doing something that sits ether, you're going to be that person. They're like, nah, I can't really chill out cafe, Yo, we talking about some positive stuff. But today, I just want to drink and just lay back. You know what I'm saying? What? I want to drink rocket fluid today. Right. So they'll get mad at a person like you and only can find the people they can associate with that encourages their 6 ether nature that they prefer. So this is where 9 ether can become 6 ether through their action. So they could have the shell of a 9 ether being and still be the 6 ether being. Because a 9 ether being can descend down to 6 ether. No different from how a 6 ether 26 can ascend to a 9 ether. You know what I'm saying? And Nagaros are doing that every day. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why when we talk about, or when the ancestors say the amount of y'all that's going to actually make it could fit in a Volkswagen. Or the amount of y'all can actually make it, they'll find a 12 by 12 scramble or say could fit in that square. Because what he's trying to tell you is that there's 7 to 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
And how much is he asking for in the culture? Just 141,000. Guess what? He can't even get that. That's a small number to 7 billion.
Right. That's right.
It is hard to even get that number. And how do you know? Because he's still in prison. What are we doing on a level, on the same magnitude that Dr. York is doing? As a group, he was doing it on his own. I'm not going to disregard the people that helped him.
Right.
The point is, he was doing it as a person that just said, yo, I'm going to take the time and write books. I'm going to put this out so that a lot of people could know this information. We say we have a nation, and we can't get to that level that one person was doing. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? That says a lot about us, and that also makes the teacher look bad. When the teacher's not producing products, that are just as good as him. Because he said himself, he said, how bad was I? I was so bad. Remember that class? No. And he was like, I'm trying to make y'all bad as well. We got a book that says, I want y'all to come 720 beings. That's right. Bob is the one that always has the name Malachi Z.K. York, 720. He wants us to be like that, masters of heaven and earth. Just imagine if all of us have become like Dr. York. What happens to the planet? They're trying to lock all of us up because they'll see how effective you are. The beast is not going to come for you if you're not effective. When people, it starts out with hate because a lot of people like to say they love the master teacher, but they hate anyone that comes close to doing anything that he does. Because how you know? Oh, you think you're the master teacher? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think you think I am trying to be likened to the chosen. That's right. No, Zen. So what? I will put out many books. So what? No, Zen. This is what we're supposed to do. Know what I mean? So when you start get on that frequency and you see your reception, you realize that in reality, people never really like the Dr. York. They like to be around or be a part of his organization because it's cool to wear black eagle, wear these nice caps, right? But to put in the work, that's what most people not gonna do. Or people like the socialization if we have events, because that's where you see people the most, right? We throw a chicken party next week, this place be packed. We say class would be him. So we say, where's our mind really? What do we really want? He had told us this thing. He said, a person who wants something, if you really want something, you go and get it. If you hope for it, I know I'm paraphrasing, but if you say if you hope for it, not
Desire.
okay. If you desire it, you wait for someone to do it for you. If you really want it, you go out and yours or something yourself. You make it happen, right? So when you see Bob is in jail for so long, he say, y'all don't get me out. And if you ask every single Savior, something, what are you doing to help Bob out? They don't know. They don't know. How do you know? Because the question's always, so what's going on with Bob? What are we doing for him? We ought to get it to the point where, we gotta get it to the point like this. There's a story. I love the story. There's a story in the Holy Tablets. And in the Holy Tablets, it talks about,
no. No. You're not saying I'm up for.
It talks about, it's a Yaqub story. Right. And in this Yaqub story, you know that Yaqub is the big head scientist that the Nation Islam talk about. But we got a more in-depth story in the Holy Tablets, right? And in this story, it talked about how the people in the city didn't like Yaqub because what he was doing. He was so effective in this concept of trying to create these race of people. He was pushing this doctrine. So what they did is they locked Yaqub up. Go in the Holy Tablets, read it for yourself. They locked him up. When they locked Yaqub up, do you think that made his followers go to sleep?
Well, it's bad.
Hell no. His followers was on the street kicking that doctrine all day. You know what I'm saying? And it was kicking his doctrine so much that the rulers and the people that locked up Yaqub was like, Yaqub, we'll let you go if you take your people and get out and just leave. Like, that's how it's supposed to be for us. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be him sitting in prison and we ain't causing uproar. Not just uproar that's going to get you killed. Right. Talk about. We say he's locked up because of the teaching. Well, if that's true, let's prove it.
Yep.
Push the teaching.
Yep.
Push it on a Dr. York level and see what happens. Make people know about it. We have a doctrine called Fools of the Gods. That's really, that's something that no one talks about, really. But the problem is, because we don't push it the way we should, most people don't know about it. So since most people don't know about it, every year, the Christian numbers are still getting big. Every year, the Muslim numbers are still getting big. You know what I'm saying? Every year, the Hebrew numbers are still getting bigger because they don't know about the fool for the gods. You know what I'm saying? And there's not enough of us because most people are followers. Let's be real. People follow. How do you know? Religion proves. Because if you question people in religion, most of them don't know that doctrine for real. How do you know? Because we, as Sabians, we took the time to go through those schools and learn their religions, right?
Mommy.
And then learn their religions, we found that they don't know their religion. Because when people see us, if we was to become a Christian, right, we would say the doctrine's so profound that even a Christian will be tired of us. We study the Muslim doctrine so profound that even the Muslims be tired of us. Yeah, just like the Hebrew doctrine, because all of them, when we was doing that, hate us up to this very day.
Yep.
Right? But now we have our own doctrine, and we're not doing it to a level where it becomes something new. Because we already got a profound doctrine, but we got to make it become something that people want to be a part of this. Right? Where the numbers grow, where there's no gap between young, old. We've all together as one.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was in the beginning. When Bible started this, it wasn't just old people, it was young and old together. I'm saying, so we got to bring that back by actually projecting and actualizing our culture by putting it in work, actually doing it. We say faith without work is dead. Christian quote. That's a true thing. You know what I'm saying? You can't just have faith in our culture. We have to really push it and push our teaching. And don't forget this. Baba is, for us, he's that person, whereas some people, right, they meet a person like, what's the richest man in the world that they will say? They're gonna meet a Bill Gates, right? And they'll meet him, and the only reason they're gonna meet him is because he's a billionaire. And to meet a billionaire, the conversation should be something that when you leave, you can do something with the information he gave.
Right.
Because you can't just get a seat and talk to him, right? Baba, as we would say, he is a Nexus. He is none. Some of us been around none. You know what I'm saying? And they say this thing, there's a philosophy that says, you are an example of the 5 people that you're around at the whole. That means that if you're in a circle of people who are unsuccessful, 5 or more, then your future is unsuccessful, right? There's a lot of people that be like, I was around Baba. I know him, man. Okay, what do you do that's like him? Nothing. So I'm not going to say that no more. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because you've proven that you're a follower. You've proven that you're a worshiper. When we're supposed to be what? He said there's 2 types of us in the culture. Those who are worshipers of God and those who will be worshipped. So if you're a Savior that's worshiping still and not becoming a God, it's okay. Just pick the side that you want. But I know that the gods have to come together and start pushing this culture. Those who want to worship is cool, because we always need people on a bandwagon. So if you have a culture, you need the people that's just going to be there in the crowd. But we need people that put in work as well. You need people that's going to open schools. We need people that's going to open hospitals. We need people that's going to, you know what I'm saying, write books or everything. We got to do everything to make our culture what it is, because when people come in, we don't want people to just be coming in. They should be coming into something that's orchestrated. We've been at what? How long the Bible been locked up? So he been locked up for over 20 years. When people come in, it still should be formulated in such a way when people come in, they're coming into a learning society. We shouldn't have to tell brothers, we need you to do security. Brothers should be doing security, because the teachers shouldn't be here teaching, and I got to check people in the crotch. Brothers should want to secure the bookstores. Right or wrong?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So these are the type of things they have to give on play, but it has to be something that's in us. You know what I'm saying? To make those type of things happen.
You have a follow-up question from Don Murray. So his question is, and you got another one after that. Don is asking, so is it the mixing that lessen power equal?
Yes. In our ancient culture, for mixing, we have this law that says, respect the laws of genetics. That means that Nagaros would only mix with Nagar. Right. Mongoloids will only mix with Mongoloids. Caucasoids will only mix with Caucasoids. Now, some people will hear that and say that's racism. We'll say, okay, racism means race and ism. Ism, if you look at the word Americanism, you know what it means? The love of America. Well, racism is the love of race. Right? Yeah. If you add an IST on it, it becomes a specialist. If I say this person is a botanist, right? That means that person specializes in plants. Yeah. Well, if I'm a racist, I mean I specialize in race. It doesn't mean you hate another race. Well, all animals in nature, if people believe in God or Creator, the Creator created all species of animals, insects, bugs, whatever you want to call it. The reason why you know an elephant from a tiger and a tiger from a leopard and a leopard from a deer, why? Because they all are their own particular species. And for a lion to live on, lions have to what? Mate with another lion. In order for deers to live on, deers have to mate with another deer. In order for bears to live on, it's the same concept. You have a chimpanzee and orangutan. They won't mix naturally. They're both simians, right? But they won't mix. The chimpanzee is only going to mix with a chimpanzee. An orangutan is only going to mix with orangutans. Well, when it comes down to humans, right? Humans have the tendency to want to crossbreed, and they'll realize that the reason why we just had it set up like that, because it's like what the Quran said. We created all of y'all like flowers, like a garden, of beauty. Everyone is beautiful on the planet. But in order for these separate flowers to grow and still exist, they would have to mate within themselves. I mean, breed with your own. It's not a racist thing. It's also an ecology thing. Yeah. Why? Because humans try to act like they're not a part of the animal kingdom. Well, ecology is to help the whole planet. And when races start crossbreeding, that also messes with the ecology of the planet. And people don't realize that. They think that is a normal thing because we're humans, right? But humans seem to be the slowest on the chart of animals. You know what I'm saying? And they think there's a problem when you become that person to say, no, I don't mix outside my race. And then we have to learn who's who on planet Earth, because some people don't know what race they are. There's only 3 races, right? Negroid, Mongoloid, Caucasoid. Everybody else is a subgroup of those 3 races. Yep. So if you're Hispanic, you are Negroid. If you're Mexican, you are Negroid. If you're Chinese, you are Mongoloid. If you're Japanese, you're Mongoloid, right? And so forth. And even some of the Asian stock too is under us too. Because if you go to like Korea, the Koreans, even though they still have that feature, they're mixed seeds of us as well. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is the things that people don't know, because on this planet, they create things where you have to put your race and put your ethnicity, and people get those two confused. You know what I'm saying? When really, it's only 3 races. Everybody else is not a race. You are part of the other 3. But playing that game, they could do the population thing and go, well, it's only 15% blacks in the United States. No, it's not. The other blacks call themselves Hispanic. That's right. You put them together, that's not 15%. And the only reason why Caucasians dominate in numbers in places like America is because they freely give them visas to come to America. You heard what I said? They import white people all the time. That's why you go to places where it's predominantly them. So, and they do this for what? Voting. You know what I'm saying? So they always import their people. And when you go to places like Jamaica, Trinidad, all these black places, and people want to come here, it make it very hard for them to get a visa to come to America. Because if a lot of them came over here, the population of blacks grow. But what they do is deny them, and all European places, they give them a visa to come over. Something happened in their land, they tell them come over and they make these people millionaires. They will never do that to the black countries. You know what I'm saying? So racism, as they call it and as they define it, they practice it all the time. We come from a culture where we will say there's wrong and there's right races. He said wrong and right racism. What's that? Well, because the Africans, right, and we are indigenous to Africa, right? To be equal is for all of us to have equal piece of land, right? Well, Africa is, you could put about 10, 20 United States in Africa, right? So Africa is the most resourceful land in the whole world. Meaning, if Africa cut off its ports, it doesn't need nobody else. It literally could survive on its own. We got diamond. People got diamonds in America, but where it come from? Africa. We got coltan. Coltan is used to what? Power your iPhones, your iPads, your computer. Where is it found? Africa. You got every natural mineral in the world you can find in Africa. Even the rubber. Without rubber, you can't drive your cars, right? Right. That's right. That's in Africa. So if Africa shut off its borders and say there's no more outside export, right? Guess what? Most of the world is gonna die, right? And if we just say, hey, since white people want to be racist, keep your stuff, or we gonna go back to Africa. And they make sure at the same time they have their racism, they still want some of us to stay in America at the same time, because they need us to be here to what? Become their scapegoat. What they're doing is they live by 6 ether. So 6 ether says, I need something that's a sister punk. So why not keep black people here? So that if you have somebody that every like somebody is, I could just shoot a black person to feed my specters. Yeah. But we look at it like it's just, no, they're feeding their spirit forces when they bother us. When a white cop bother you for no reason, that energy, that adrenaline that you get, like, this is probably the last day I'm living, right? They need that to survive. Why most of them become cops? That's the only time they probably interact with black people. And then some black people are becoming like them because once they put on that uniform, they put on an old new mind. They automatically think they're not us no more. When they're supposed to be in a uniform to help our community. You know what I'm saying? So that's crazy. Any other questions?
Yeah, from Mazamal Saye Ha. Says Robert Muisa. Question is from Fasarat Renan Kuhn. You all's name, verses 104 to 105. Questions. So how do we contact them in the next world? Or is the answer in verse 103, meaning do we have to wait for the master teacher to give us those tones or teach us how to make contact?
So what's the verse? 104?
104 and 105.
I'll read before that. So it says, I'm going to read from 100. Mountaineers often ask questions. When you take the name or attribute of ancient Netru or Natal overseers, such as Geb, Nut, Neat, Hathar, Amku, Satuk, Asar, Ashtek, Navatek, Kansu, Zahutwi, and Ramos, do you link to them and must you act like them or live up to their name? First of all, know these are attributes of their physical actions while they lived, however, not their secret sacred tongue. So no, I have to give the chosen ones their tongues, or in the next life, they will not be called or able to answer. So don't think because you have a name, you have to be that person, or you can contact that person in the next world. They don't go by that living name. So they can oversee, look over you, watch you, guide you. I'm ready like that. So they don't go by that living name. So they can oversee, look over you, watch you, guide you right. Yet, when you call their names for help, they can help you. If it's true, pure thoughts. Yet only if it's to help other than yourself. For that, you have your own ancestors, relatives. So, answer his question, he said,
So how do we contact them in the next world?
oh, yeah. So he tells you right there. You could contact them to what? Help somebody else.
That's right.
And that is a form of divine. That's a form of divine love, if you think about it. That means you're calling the ancients to help somebody else, not for yourself, right?
That's right.
So that's different. Also, you don't go by that divinity.
Yeah, I see too. I got that.
And of course, Menelin, Caucasians use the vitamin pills. Often we say this increase our melody. But I know of a couple of boys better.
Okay. So, understand that you're already born with melanin, right? So what you have to do is learn how to keep your melanin purified. The master teacher taught that vitamin B, right? He said vitamin B purifies your melanin. Another thing is you have to start to get out in the sun. A lot of us in the West, we live in places where it's predominantly cold, and we get like 3-4 months of heat, right? You know what I'm saying? Another thing that messes with you is your hours of work. Most of us suffer from what do we call it? It's malnutrition. No, not malnutrition. It's a term that we have. Malillumination. That means that you get very little sunlight. So a lot of black people go to the hospital to get their little checkups, and they say, hey, you're low on vitamin D. Coke has a prescription for vitamin D. You don't have to take that. You can literally go into the sun, stay outside. But you're affected because of your work hours. If you got a job, you work in the daytime. If you don't work on the outside, you're affected especially it's affected. Because you work in a facility, that means you only could go outside when your break. And your break is usually 15, or if in some cases, an hour.
Right? At most. Yeah, at most.
Sorry, not 15.
30 minutes.
30 minutes or an hour, right? So that's not enough time. And at the peak of the sun being outside, right? High noon. Oftentimes we're inside. You probably be the lucky one that get it at that time, but all the other melanites is still inside, right? Because everybody can't go outside at the same time. So us living over here, in this country, and also how we eat, and even things we take in. Remember, your melanin is always charged. It's always trying to recharge itself. So the energies that you're around also affect your melanin. So if you're around negative energy, you're using that to message your melanin as well. So you have to be around positive energy because melanin is the pigment that makes up your skin color, right? Now we know that you're not at the state of having pure melanin, but you can take care of your brown melanin that you have right now. Because what's pure melanin? Pure melanin is when you're in original state in your original atmosphere, right? And your skin will be green. But because you are now in this atmosphere where the base element for strength is iron, when you take in the poison called oxygen, you rust into the color brown. And when you rust into this color brown, it's killing you faster. You know what I'm saying? That's why things that are healthy are called antioxidant. Think about that. Things that are healthy is called antioxidant, which means against oxygen. Because what do oxygen do? You cut the apple and you leave it on the table. That part you cut, what color the apple turn? It goes from white to brown. And this only happens with fruits. It don't happen with people. You cut a light person, they ain't gonna turn brown. End of the day, antioxidant food, those type of foods help your melanin as well. You know what I'm saying? I mean, eats a lot of greens, right? Right. So, yeah, those type of dicks. And we have to understand this too. I like to always make this play. Everybody on the planet have 9, right? Including white D. But black collar people gonna be like, what? Nah, we the milk. No, they could say melanin is popping too. They can say, we got melanin just popping on the low level. Let's pop it.
That's all right.
Yeah, you got to pass it.
Yeah, I was just supposed to say that I got blessed for the job. I work outdoors, and lately, or last year, especially last summer, I wore a visor. I just had to go to the so-called clinic, get a check, but he said I had too much vitamin D in me.
Too much?
Too much. Who knows? And the VL. All the other vitamins were at that level, but I had too much vitamin D. And I know it was because of that visor being in the sun all day.
Yeah. And also the eyes, because remember, our eyes is dark, so it acts as solar panels over them, and it draws in. Remember, dark colors draw in the sunlight for you, all right? So if you're wearing black outside too, you get all that like shred. No, right? So, yeah. But the sun is always defeat. It's always defeat. Except for staring into it, because some people teach that too. That can get you blind. That's some Hindu philosophy crap.
All right, not no longer. That was the last question I saw. Scroll down.
And you know this concept, since we're on the melanin topic, nah, people out there be like, there's some people that's out there that's teaching people. They'll go 666, carbon, melanin. You ever heard that before?
Yeah, it's an 8-6 core.
They'll tell you 666 is good. It's not a bad thing, but it's related to melanin. And I say, when I hear that, I be like, this person ain't going to school.
Oh, he's talking about carbon like P6?
That.
It's quite like this,
It's like, hold on, blur it. And they got a whole bunch of people online that's going along with this. And I say, damn, there's a whole lot of black people that don't go to school. Or they dropped out too early. They dropped out before they took chemistry.
I thought it was cool. Yeah, they hung out that day.
They was the ones that's like, I got my degree. And I'm like, who cares, man? Y'all just came out of jail. Yo, what's good, man? Anyway, melanin is a molecule. And the difference between molecules and an element, when you say melanin is 666, that's not melanin. That's just carbon, right? Because carbon had 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. So carbon doesn't equal melanin, right? Melanin has carbon in it. The fact that melanin is a molecule, that means that a molecule means you bring a couple of atoms together and form a paragraph, right? For lack of a better words. So melanin formula is C18, H10, N2, and O4. So carbon is there, but 18. You know what I'm saying? Carbon 18, which tells you that that's not the original carbon. That's not regular carbon. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's carbon, but it's not the regular carbon. You know what I'm saying? So, heat. So that's just something to put off it. A lot of people giving people wrong information, and people are accepting it and teaching it because we live on a planet where just as long as you sound confident, people will believe it. I could come and say, yo, the original people on Earth was cats, man. If people like me, they gonna like, yo, that's joint the deep cat, right? Cats? For real? And if I start breaking down, the C, it's carbon, and the A, the super atom, right? Stop. And one thing we have to do is live by our precepts. Don't believe me, check it out. And anything that we accept has to be based on evidence, experience, and reasoning. You know what I'm saying? All those factors have to be in there. We don't just accept something because it sounds good. When we say sound right reasoning, we don't mean it sounds good. Sound right reasoning doesn't mean that. When you say something is sound, right? We don't mean the sound of it in your ears. We mean, does it really make sense? Does it give you when you listen to it and you work it out and break it down, is it sound? Does it make it give you a sound mind? You know what I'm saying? Not just because it sounds right, you know? I did a video and I said that in the video. I was like, some people out there teaching 6 carbon. And these people is usually the black power type. People was at the college, yo, bro, you trying to take this from us. I was like, go to school. It's not in schools.
Any other questions? Nothing online. Yeah, question?
Nope, no question. All right, so let's do chemistry. So someone asks you, what is the chemical formula for what? And you say, oh, H. No, it's just H. You know what I'm saying? Carbon, that's it. If that's going to be a concept, is my mind. What? Hydrogen? That is what those people are doing. You know that? So you have to understand what is a molecule versus what is the element. And once you understand that, you'll know why melanin can never be 666. Really, carbon. And nobody telling 666 is a good thing. Even if you're trying to extend it and say, no, people talking about the devil. They talking about, no. They talking about the devil. That's biblical. Right. Let's separate Bible from science. Right. Carbon has nothing to do with the devil. I'm saying point blank. It's all about some revelation quote. We don't care about that. When you talk about science, don't try to bring science into the Bible when people who are religious do not do that. You know what I'm saying? Just leave it alone. Yes.
They got a lot of Christians now that incorporate science, and it's misleading science. What is you call about the strap of Jesus, so going into the DNA, all type of stuff. So they're now trying to mix science and religion together.
You know why? Because they want to. We know what religion is for. But it's for the God. It's for the Anunnaki. It's for a food source. And religion is the form of seasoning, like a person seasoning their food. So they're gonna make things up. They have to make you like, okay, listen, we said the strand of Jesus. We're talking about DNA. So, but I'm to say that Jesus have DNA. They're trying to confirm that he exists. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But in reality, where'd they get this DNA from? Let's say they got it from the shop, right? Now he's so supposedly the Shroud of Turin. Yeah, but yeah, this is out of the Shroud of Turin, right? Out you got. When you go and study the Shroud of Turin, their own scientists tell you that was paint, not blood. Okay? So these are the concepts that most people don't really take the time of research, right? In reality, their Jesus, their type of Jesus don't exist. Understand? Do it come from a real story? Absolutely. But the real story has nothing to do with a person named Jesus. Yeah, that's all the or Yahshua. Right? Because the person who in the Hebrew, they go, yeah, brother, he's saying it's Yahshua. I don't care about him either. We talking about horror, Haru, from ancient Intermediate, Egypt, Kemet. You know what I'm saying? That's the real person. Who they got their story from.
Right.
You want? And that's why back in the days, they says Bobby's got asked this question. He's like, are you guys Christian? And he would say, aren't we all? We love it. Right? And he'll only say that because he like, you call a person in your book Jesus, right? And a Muslim called him Isa, right? And a Jew calls him Yahshua, right? So we are Egyptians. We call him Har or Shepara or Eru. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is ours is real, yours is fake.
Small difference.
That's all. Right? Samaria, they call him Tammuz. Right? In Hindu, they call him Har Krishna. You hear that? Har Krishna. Yeah, far from Egypt. And Krishna from Christ.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Hindus call him. Hinduism is older than Christianity.
Right.
And Islam. Look then. So. Anyway. With that, I'm going to pass the class back to my brother. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. There's no more questions. Happy Father's Day. All the brothers out there. Okay.
That's right.
We about to do up.
Yes, you should.